Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Underdog. But today I wanted to put things in perspective for you all. The way that this bear market has gone on, I see so many people. It's so frustrating for me to watch people get so negative and get so frustrated. Oh, the price hadn't moved to this and this and that. That drives me up the wall, and it doesn't drive me up the wall because I don't understand. I understand people. Most people are not used to this kind of thing, and so it makes complete sense that a lot of people out there get frustrated about these markets. So I want you to watch this video, and I have many new people that have come in, and so I know that sometimes I repeat myself, but I only do it because I have those new people, and I want those new people to understand that I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that XRP is a once in a century opportunity. I mean, this is like this kind of opportunity has not come along in my lifetime, and I don't believe it's come along in anybody's lifetime in terms of investments, what digital assets are, and I'm about to show you what I mean by that. But before I go further, I want to tell you that for those of you that don't know, I was a financial advisor back in the day at Morgan Stanley. And so some of the things I'm about to show you have to do with what we used and what an asset class is. And so I've talked a lot on this channel about the fact that this is a new asset class, but I saw something this morning that reminded me, and I need to keep, it's the most important drum for me to keep beating. There's a lot of guys in this space that do really, really deep dives on Ripple and XRP. I go pretty deep sometimes on it. I've gone deep enough to know and explain to you all that XRP is it's not even close. XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created. I tell you that all the time. And every once in a while I'll go into some detail about why and all of that. But today, and I'll talk about that a little bit today, but today I want to tell you I want to drill down on how important the fact that digital assets are a new asset class is. And the first thing I want to show you is, I know, everybody's, it's only 213 billion. Look at XRP, which is, by the way, actually gone up 100 and something % in the last few months. We're at 50 cents right now. And so this morning I was looking through Twitter and I saw one of my favorite XRP handles. I love his name because I grew up on the movie, at Willy Wonka XRP. He puts out a lot of good information on XRP, so go follow him. But he says he puts the adoption curve, and I've shown y'all something like this before. He says the technological adoption curve by Everett Rogers, 1962. And basically, it's talking about technology and how it's adopted over time. And I've told you before, we're the innovators. And then you've got the early adopters and the early majority. And when I look at this chart, so this puts you in the top 2.5% of the world in terms of where you are parked in your XRP investment. So we're the innovators. Okay, we were here before anybody else. And for that exact reason, you have to go through the frustrations that you're going through now. And as I've told my audience many times before, your job is to put your big boy pants on and quit whining and understand the bigger picture of what you're in. And if you can't handle it, and you're one of these people that puts the comments in my section about, the price just stays where it is and it's not going, then you don't belong in cryptocurrencies. You have no business. If that is the kind of baby attitude that you have not grown up yet, and you are not mature enough to make investments in anything. You probably need to go back to school and get an education, because you do not understand. If you're the person that puts those kind of comments in the comment section of my video, You need to grow up. You need to go. It may take some time before you're even going to fit into the big boy pants, but that is what you need to do. The people that I am interested in talking to and making understand this is the people who are mature and who do grasp the gravity of what I am saying today. You are the innovators. We were there. We're there before Backed. We're there before Fidelity Digital Assets. We are there before Goldman Sachs. We're there before Morgan Stanley, before TD Ameritrade, before Charles Schwab gets in this game. We're before them. We figured this out before they did, or maybe because they are trying to steer the Titanic and we're just steering our own wallets, we were able to get there before them. It's irrelevant why. The point is we were and we are. And so this is huge. This adoption curve is very important for you to see. Next thing he says in this tweet, XRP investors are amongst the 2.5% early adopters and are a part of the first new asset class since stocks. Now think about it. I want you to look at this and think about this really hard. He says, and we are a part of the first new asset class since stocks. Now I've been beating this asset class drum for the last 10 months or whatever. And for those of you that do not know what an asset class is, I'm going to show you what an asset class is. These are the asset before digital assets. These are the asset classes of the world. This is what it's been. Equities, stocks, which means stocks, real estate, cash equivalents like a savings account, or I think CDs may go into the fixed income, but fixed income refers to bonds. Commodities would be things like gold and silver. To my knowledge, of all of these asset classes, of all of them, the one that has the least amount of money in it is gold at about $7 plus or minus trillion. We have, in the digital asset class, we have $213 billion total in it. Okay, and but when you look at these asset classes, this is what I want you to get out of this. Your children, I'm telling you, your children and your grandchildren, one day, if you will just sit tight and quit whining and worrying about the day-to-day price and stop looking at it if you can't take it, but do not sell your XRP. Sit there in your XRP, put it on the Ledger Nano S and leave it alone, okay? Do that, because here is what is going to happen. Your children and your grandchildren, there's going to be a day in the future, and they're gonna ask you about what it was like when you were there when the first new asset class in over a century came out. Where were you, and what did you do about it? And I sure hope that you're able to tell them that you were an XRP, one of the early innovators in XRP. I hope that you can tell them that, because it will be a life changer for future generations of your family. Because a new asset class, and I'll go into this very briefly, as a financial advisor, they train us. I'm not going to say they train us. They trained us, because I'm not a financial advisor anymore. Okay? Let me say that again. I'm not a financial advisor anymore. But they trained us to go in and talk about these asset classes to investors and present to them in such a way that we would allocate those assets based on the risk tolerance of the client. You would allocate those, so if it's someone closer to retirement, they would be heavier weighted in safer things like fixed income. If it was a young person that's just started working, they would have riskier investments towards stocks and things like that, because for growth purposes. And then as they neared retirement, you might shift the allocation of those assets to more in the fixed income. And that's how it works. I'll show you an actual chart that we used to show people. And this chart was for the purposes of explaining to people why they needed to diversify their assets across the different asset classes, okay? We would show them this chart to illustrate the point that every year, different asset classes have their year. So, like for instance, if you look at a REIT is a real estate investment trust. It's a way through the stock market to invest in real estate. And they have high dividends. That's one of the marks of REITs. But anyway, in 2004, And let me see how the red means that it was the highest returning asset class for that year. So the REIT in 2004 did 31.6%, whereas international stocks did 20.7%. Cash performed worse than any of them at 1.4%. But these charts, it's like a heat map that shows you which ones did the best, and it looks like over the 2000s, real estate did better than just about anything in most years, with a few exceptions. But it shows down here the different performances. Okay, and what they're trying to illustrate here, you look at the bottom, the AA. These are asset allocated portfolios where someone has allocated the assets across the different, and they show the performance. So this is more stable. It's kind of in the middle. But the point in showing you this is what's coming for the first time in over 100 years. What's coming is you're going to see digital assets in this mix, and you're going to see the financial advisors of the world, not just retail financial advisors going to individual clients, but institutional, big money managers. They're going to be allocating a percentage. In my opinion, I've always thought it might be 0.5% to 1%. 0.5% to 1% of the world's money is going to be allocated to not just all cryptocurrencies. Right now we have over 2,000 cryptocurrencies. In my opinion, over time, you'll have a consolidation of that. You might have 20 that are legit cryptocurrencies. And over time, there will be some good ones added, some that taken away, frauds taken away. And that's just a natural part of the evolution of something like this. But I want to go back one more time and show you this before I leave this. These are the asset classes for over 100 years. These have been the only asset classes. And now we have another one. And do not be the person who has to tell your grandchildren, oh yeah, well somebody told me about XRP, but I sold it, it was really scary at the time. I needed to. You keep your money parked there, and if you can't take it, if you're not tough enough to watch this stuff and be in the game, don't worry, the digital asset investor will be here. I don't care what happens. Digital asset investors are going to be here because I've lived my life and I've seen the ups and the downs. I've lived through the financial crisis. I know what's bad and what's good. And digital assets represent everything about finance that is good. And it's going to change a lot of lives. And so I hope that this will sink into many of you. Moving along, I wanted to show you this last thing because guess what? It's not just the fact that it's a new asset class that you get to be a part of as an XRP holder. What you're looking at was put out, and let me give him credit, at XRP News _ puts a lot of good things on Twitter regarding Ripple. He copied me on this, and I thought it was interesting. This shows you a map of the world, and this is people that are plugged into RippleNet. Now, RippleNet does not use XRP, but RippleNet is Ripple, the company, going live with their software to all these banks, payment companies, and financial institutions. And the next step is switches just being flipped that start using XRapid that does use XRP. But over the course of the next months and years, the liquidity of XRP is going to be being built up. And as that happens, you're going to have more and more of these come on. And the world's going to change right before your eyes. And what's going to happen is the value of XRP is not only going to be going up through massive, massive speculation of the fact that it's the greatest digital asset ever created, but it's going to be like a bathtub. I've compared it to water in a bathtub that slowly rises and creates a higher base over time because of the sloshing around of XRP around the world as a use case. In conjunction with that, what's going to be happening is you're going to have new use cases popping up and more money entering into the XRP space. Companies like Coil that are going to be using it for advertising on platforms or blogs or YouTube where XRP is being used to pay people or to tip people. There's going to be use cases that are unknown to us today, and there's going to be thousands of them.